I'm President Deniz A. Erdal. Thank you for joining us for the 7th episode of the Fireside Cast, the only presidential podcast in Upper Arlington. Today, I'm joined in the studio by Cabinet Member Adil Siddiqi. Thanks for joining the program, Adil.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
Before we start the conversation, I'd like to mention that we'll be having a very important announcement at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. So, last Sunday, there was a very disturbing event that occurred in Burbank Park. Can you tell us a little bit about this event, Adil?
Yes, so at about 8:40 a.m. on Sunday, October 14th, a walker noticed a fire at Burbank Park while walking. And so they put it out after contacting the fire division, and it turned out that it was a burning body. So, and police are investigating right now. It seems to be a body of a dead Caucasian woman, somewhere from 18 to 30 years old.
And I believe a lot of people at first thought it was a Halloween prank, as the burning body appeared to be a mannequin. But it turned out to be, in fact, an actual body. And I think that's quite disturbing. You don't really expect events like this to occur in Upper Arlington. Now, we don't know if it was a murder or a suicide or an accident even, but I think this is a stain on Upper Arlington, really. You wouldn't expect stuff like this to happen here.
Yeah, usually people see this as a much more safe community than a lot of other communities, and so this is pretty disturbing.
Especially when you look on a crime map, you'll see that in Upper Arlington there's really little theft or break-ins or burglary, anything like that. And I was incredibly surprised by this. And so the situation is still being investigated by the UAPD and the BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. And right now, Burbank Park has been reopened. And what I find extremely disturbing is that right next to Burbank Park is Burbank Elementary School. And you have tons of little children from all over Upper Arlington attending school there. And I know my little brother, he's in kindergarten and he goes to Burbank for half of the day. And so are the children there safe is the question, I think.
Well, I think they wouldn't have opened the park if there was an imminent threat there. And, we don't know if it's a murder or a suicide, like you said, so it's an ongoing investigation, so more to come. So moving to our next topic, we know that a Saudi journalist named Jamal Khashoggi has been murdered in a diplomatic feud between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. How do you feel about what's going on there?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a diplomatic feud just between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Khashoggi, he was a columnist for the Washington Post, and he entered the Istanbul consulate of Saudi Arabia to get some paperwork. And the events that followed were captured by his Apple Watch. And so his Apple Watch recorded him being ripped apart by a bone saw. So some very violent imagery there. Yeah. And the images were, or the sound was sent to his fiancée, who had his phone at the time, right outside of the embassy consulate. And so the Turkish authorities have produced this information, and also there was a squad of 14 Saudi individuals who arrived at 3 a.m. at Istanbul on the same day in which Jamal Khashoggi entered the consulate. And then they left later that afternoon rumored to have parts of the body with them, the diced up parts of the journalist. And so many international companies and CEOs have now been cutting ties with the so-called Davos in the Desert meeting that will be taking place this week. I know Michael Bloomberg is no longer attending, and major news companies such as the New York Times and the CNN and the BBC have said that they will no longer be attending the event. However, the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, will still be attending. And so there has been a lot of pressure on the Trump administration by both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill to put off a major arms deal that President Trump signed with Saudi Arabia. I believe it was for $110 billion. But there has been a lot of pressure to cut that deal due to Saudi Arabia's human rights violations. And frankly, I don't think we really have much in common with Saudi Arabia. I mean, if we look at Saudi Arabia, it's a dictatorship, an absolute monarchy. And I don't see why we're giving them all these arms and weapons. Just back in July, a bomb was dropped on a school bus in Yemen by Saudi Arabia, and that was a bomb made in America by us, which we gave to Saudi Arabia, and then they dropped it on children. And so I think that this trade deal, or this arms deal, should be cut. I don't think we should be giving such a country weapons. What's your take on this matter?
Yeah, I agree. It's a very disturbing matter, to say the least. And I don't think, we should be supplying weapons if they're going to do such terrible things. So, yeah, it's all very dark.
We've been talking about a lot of dark topics this episode. Why don't we switch gears?
I completely agree. And now, to deliver our special announcement, we're joined in the studio by executive producer of the Fireside Cast, Ryan Huntley.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Ryan.
Thank you for having me once again.
Thanks for joining the program.
We are very excited to announce the all-new official Discord chat of the Cabinet of Deniz A. Erdal. Live right now on Discord is a brand new server where you, fans of the show and constituents of Deniz A. Erdal at UAHS, can go to receive announcements released by the Cabinet by the Fireside Cast team, and if you subscribe to us on Patreon to help support the show, you can receive access to a special chat where you can communicate with us, the Cabinet, and the team directly. So go ahead right now on our YouTube channel, on the channel banner, and also in our Instagram bio. You can check out links to join our Discord server and to subscribe to our official Patreon page.
And I believe there are a number of different levels in the Patreon.
Indeed, there are.
The first level, campaign donor, that's $5 per month. And with that, you'll have your name mentioned in the end slate.
For $10, you'll be able to receive a special personalized message along with your name when we thank our sponsors. For $15, you'll receive access to our Patreon chat on Discord where you can communicate with us directly. And for $20, you'll be able to access each week's Fireside Cast episode one full day early on our Patreon exclusive blog.
I'd like to thank you both for joining this week's program.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for having us.
Major funding for the Fireside Cast has been provided by Serpent Cinematography,
TV Productions,
And the Combat Robot Kev Foundation, empowering robotics engineering since 2016.
and by contributions from listeners like you. Thank you.
If you'd like to sponsor an episode and have your name mentioned in our end slate, you can check out our brand new Patreon page.